Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate at the Virginia Department of Corrections, Red Onion State Prison. To accept this call, press 0.
It's literally all the same. Nothing changes. When you're in SEG, you're in that cell 24 hours a day. Time is fluid in solitary. The thing is, if you have a good book or there's a good movie or something of that nature on, time can go by really fast. Or if you're having a conversation that you really enjoy, time can just get away from you. You don't lose track of minutes or hours. You can literally lose track of days in here. But at the on the opposite end of that, if you're aware of time, if you're waiting for something, it drags by so slow. I mean, it's like I've always kind of pictured it as being you're having your ankles chained to the bumper of a pickup truck and just slowly drag down the road, like over a gravel road. It like maybe 10 miles an hour, but you can't do nothing. You're chained up. I mean, your hands are tied, and there's just absolutely nothing to do about it. So it's horrible when it goes by like that. And most guys don't have anything to do. I was able to escape into a fantasy world. That's what really saved me, what really, really helped me maintain my sanity. In the fantasy worlds, one, it gave me control. Two, it gave me a goal. I was creating something. I was building something. I felt good about myself. And because I felt good about myself, I was able to ground myself. But most guys don't have an imagination. Most guys, they go over the same thing over and over and over again. They're reliving the past constantly. When you do that, it breaks you down. What they done when they got locked up, what they would do different. Because I remember before I learned how to use my imagination, like if I was to get mad at someone back then, and this is back when I was in my teens and my early 20s. I mean, I could sit there and go 4 or 5 days. Just the only thing I would think about is a grudge that I had against someone. I would create all these scenarios of where I've put them in their place. I've showed them for the fool they were for disrespecting me. How dare you? Or if I was mad enough, I'd spend days at a time fantasizing about how to kill them. Violence begets violence. And when you're in this place, like I've explained before, your emotions are so hypersensitive over anything and everything. And that's all you do because you don't have a TV, you don't have books, you don't have any type of social activity or communication that is positive and, productive. You're just stuck in this cell. You feed off that anger and you feed on it and on it and on it. It's like you take a snowball, the top of Mount Everest, and you roll it down. It starts collecting snow and more snow. And by the time it gets to the bottom, it wipes out an entire village. It's so big. Same thing with your emotions in here, especially an emotion as addictive as anger. So you just start going off on the dark end, and this is the thing about it. You know how a lot of people say marijuana is a gateway drug. Anger is the same thing because when you're constantly thinking about anger, your thoughts start getting more and more and more darker. I would go from I started off fantasizing about just my words, just putting them in place with my words. That's what I would daydream about. Saying what I really, truly wanted to say, not holding back, and it shaming them, putting them in their place, it making them feel the way they made me feel, but worse. Before too much longer, because I kept thinking about it, that, you know, that anger kept feeding off of itself. I went from simply putting them in their place with my words to beating their ass. Then I went from beating their ass to killing them. And it gets progressively worse and worse and worse. It's sort of like pornography. A guy will start off just looking at a picture of a woman naked. But the more he looks at that naked woman, eventually he's going to want to see her with another man. He's going to want to see her with another woman. And then he's going to get tired. You're going to want more. You're going to want more. And next thing you know, she's getting gangbanged by 57 dudes. Everything progresses in the same thing with your anger, with your emotions in here, and it just feeds on itself, man. And that's the real, true danger of this place. When they keep you in this, it turns you into an animal. It turns you into a savage, someone who doesn't care, because you're constantly feeding your thoughts with these violent images. And then if you have someone beside you who you get along with, and they're caught up in that same anger spiral that you're caught in, and you two start feeding off of each other, about the only thing you can do is put that person down. 2 times. I found myself around that type of person 2 times. There was this one guy named ST, which was short for Stormtrooper, and he got that name when he was in receiving because somebody owed him money and they didn't pay. So he kicked in the door of their cell and beat their ass and took it. So, yeah, me and him, we were beside each other, and, you know, we had a lot in common. And, you know, we was both angry. We was both hurt and filled with pain and so on and so forth. And because of that, we recognized that in each other. And it just, I mean, some of the things we talked about on that event, I won't even repeat some of the things that we conversated about. It's just too damn dark, and I don't want to put my soul through that again. But it just suffice it to say, if me and him would have ever got out of prison at the same time, and that mindset that we was in at that time, I can assure you, we would have went on a killing spree the likes of which this world has never seen. We was in that mindset of, you know, we knew what we was going out there to do. We knew we was going out there killing and robbing and doing whatever. It didn't matter. And we knew eventually we was going to get gunned down by the cops. But we would have took as many of them out as we could. And that's that mindset that you get in. I like the dude. Well, like I said, we had a lot in common, but I'm so glad that I'm no longer around him because we fed off each other. He eventually worked his way out of Red Onion and got transferred. Matter of fact, we was actually down at Sussex 1 together when I slit the child molester's throat, and I came back up here, and I lost track of him. I have no idea where he's at or what he's doing. There's a great verse in the Bible, evil company corrupts good habits. So when I come across people like that, I try to be a positive influence in their life because I know what it is they're going through, what it is they're dealing with. But if I realize pretty quickly there's nothing I can do to kind of be a light to them, just leave them alone and I stay away from them. But that's what solitary does to you when you're stuck in here. Well, when you're stuck in it year after year after year after, you become a monster. The only thing I really daydreamed about as a kid was, being loved, having actual real toys that were just mine, or, having food to eat. But when I was a kid, I would dream of my dad loving me instead of beating the living hell out of me. I would fantasize about not having to give my food to my brother Jason because he had enough food. Those were the types of things that I dreamed of as a kid. It was 2007. I got sent back up here, because like I said, in 2006, April 28th, I slit the child molester's throat. And I came back up here, and I was, if I remember correctly, I was in A222. I remember sitting on the bed And, like I said, I was a Christian at the time, but I was really struggling with it, in and out of it. And I remember sitting there reading, like I said, I was reading the Wheel of Time series, some of the first books over and over again. That's when I started to daydream and fantasize that I was laying Mandragorn. And that's when God put it on my heart that, hey, the only difference between you and him is the choices you make. That's when I really, really started to get up and pace the floor and fantasize and daydream about it, about making those right choices. Because I would start off putting myself in situations where if I do one action, something bad would happen. But if I do this action, something good might happen. And it was just your typical hero type of daydream. I just started feeding off of it and just started doing it more because, I liked it. When I closed my eyes, I could start to see it and to visualize. It was helping me. I felt more calmer, clear-headed, like I could see better. Like,
you have 1 minute remaining.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. This is Red Onion Randy. I hope you enjoyed listening to me, and please check out my website, redonionrandy.com. Take care and stay safe till next time.
Thank you for using GTL.